Tengo que acordarme en dónde.
Okay, is the recording?
So,
recording?
we were talking about the observation, but
Yes,
okay,
and I was talking about observation being really important aspect, but also learning from experience.
yeah, so learning from experience. That's something that people sometimes think like I have to read a lot and then put it in experience. But the Tavistock is totally on the contrary. It's just going and learning from the experience. But how can you spread that in the world that really value the theory? So just look like the reverse sides.
Well, I mean, if we just take, for instance, the theme of the conference, which is something about safety.
Yeah.
It's about actually trying to create a safer environment where the temperature is brought down and violence, isn't as prevalent. Okay, so that's the theme of the conference in a way. And I suppose, from a learning from experience approach in thinking about safety, I'd want people to be reflecting and looking to themselves about how do I feel safe? Given that recently Mexico experienced, a natural disaster of gigantic proportion with the earthquake, I'd want to be, really facilitating people to think about what was that experience like for me? How did I feel during that experience? And how did I recover?
Yeah.
And in that kind of close examination, I think people do come up with some thoughts that are usually very interesting, but not only to make sense of that experience for themselves, but also to help other people make sense of the experience.
And I think, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe that could be related with my own experience or leads to my internal world and let me comprehend the internal world to the other. That could be related?
Most definitely it's related to the internal world.
Because internal world is something that and the Tavi is really named all the time.
The internal. Yes. Do you want to? Is there a question in there that you'd particularly?
Yeah. Well, I would try and know because internal world is something that's very named in Tavi. So
yes.
It's like part of this going from the experience and having the core Tavi.
Yes.
Try to spread.
Well, I suppose my kind of response to that is that in ordinary good enough families, children, are loved and made to feel safe for those formative years in early childhood. And so internally, they have a sense of figures who are helpful inside them.
Okay.
And so, if there is a problem in life, like for instance an earthquake, a child who has had the background of kind of an internal world with friendly adults who are trustworthy, they're more likely to actually be able to draw on resources to recover in comparison with a child who's actually grown up with violence and abuse, who internally has very little to draw on. Inside themselves, there aren't helpful figures to draw on that can actually help get through disasters and other problems in life. So the internal world, I think,
it's a whole world.
Is a whole world, and it's it kind of is set up from the beginning of life, where a baby internalizes a sense of a mother who actually will feed them when they're very hungry.
Okay.
So then there's a sense of a mother getting established inside themselves. Internally.
And internally. And I'm thinking how this is related, like the inner world of the baby, how the baby internalized can spread to the organization, because you were talking about the unconscious that is going between the relations between the baby, the mother, the relations in the school organization, and at the same time you're saying that Tavi will benefit when training the other. How can this circle could be good?
Well, I mean I mean, I think you'll know that organisations are complicated places, and that there's actually, the aim of an organisation that's probably written down externally in all marketing materials, and then there's a whole kind of separate life of an organisation that goes on under the surface of things in quite kind of complicated ways. I think we all recognise that being part of a group is a complicated thing.
It's complicated, relationships everywhere.
It's complicated. So the Tavistock is quite active also in thinking about the nature of organisational life and trying to understand that better.
Great, so we finished the time.
We're done?
Yeah, we're done. So
I hope, was that all right?
Yeah. Estuvo bien?
What was this for, by the way?